Hi, my name's Oliver. This is my kitchen, and I wasn't really sure how else to start this. I've been thinking about it for a couple weeks and then realized I could just start it in a kitchen, bare bones, and lo-fi. What I wanted to talk about is the terror of the situation. Big titles here. What is this? How do we even touch something that avoids explanation? How do we even point towards something that avoids pointing? How do we even begin? How do we even begin with something that is terrifying to look at? The terror of the situation is that we are all asleep, every single one of us, and the majority of our life is lived in a type of waking sleep and automatism. Yeah, I know, it's rough. And I'm speaking as someone who's understood that for themselves. I can only speak for myself, obviously, but I suspect there's a lot of people out there who might resonate with this. And a while back, I started understanding how little of my life I had true control over, and how rarely I was truly conscious to my life and to my situation. So the terror of the situation is waking up to how rarely we are awake. If I could sum it up, the terror of the situation is to wake up to how rarely we are actually awake. The terror of the situation is to be awake to the fact that we are not awake. Simply put, no big deal, right? And it's real. It's not a metaphor. But even talking about that, the terror of the situation, this was a term coined by Gurdjieff. So here's a definition I found. This is an essay by Jacob Needleman. It's called Gurdjieff and the Terror of the Situation. Although firmly rooted in a very ancient, lost tradition, Gurdjieff's teaching is bitingly contemporary. Right now. That's me. It analyzes the human predicament with devastating precision. It shows how men and women are conditioned from earliest childhood, how they operate according to deep-rooted programs, living from cause to effect in an unbroken chain of reactions. Yada, yada, yada. This endless pitching and tossing between mind, feeling, and body produces a fluctuating series of impulses, each of which deceptively asserts itself as me. As one desire replaces another, there can be no continuity of intention, no true wish. Only the chaotic power of only the chaotic pattern of contradiction in which we all live, in which the ego has the illusion of willpower and independence. Gurdjieff calls this the terror of the situation. It's just another way of saying something that everyone's felt. Most people have felt. Again, I can only speak for myself, but I have felt. And it's sort of like this low hum underneath us that's just barely perceptible, right? It's like, I think you could probably hear my fridge going right now. I can. It just stopped. And then you hear that silence that you didn't notice that the fridge was going in the first place, right? And then all of a sudden it stops and you're aware, oh, it was going on. That's how the terror of the situation kind of can help point towards something. It's just the finger pointing to the moon, right? In that old Zen story. It's a pointing towards something. And what it points towards is vast, sometimes terrifying, ultimately liberating, and absolutely mandatory to pass through if we are going to live a life as a real human being. Again, I'm just talking about myself, but there might be people out there who have understood that for themselves. So that's why I wanted to speak about it for now. And then maybe later we can talk about what we can do about it, because there's stuff we can do about it. We are not ultimately without help, but you got to see the bars before you can escape the prison, is the way I've heard it described. And I think that's a good way to look at it. So this is what I want to talk about with you, with me, with all of us, the terror of our situation. Are we awake? Are we truly living our lives? Are we actually human? Can we call ourselves real human beings if most of what we do is reactive to stimuli, moving towards things that give us comfort, moving away things that disturb us? If we're just doing this way and that way, can we say that we're actually living our lives? It's a question. I have some answers for myself, but it's a question I'm putting out to you. Am I awake? Is the way I'm going to ask it. I'm trying my best to bring it all back to me, because that's the only situation I can talk about. But I would invite, if this is still playing for you and you're still watching, I would invite you to play along and ask those questions as well. Am I awake? Right now, I'm certainly feel awake because I asked myself the question and I went, oh, am I awake? But what's going to happen 5 minutes from now? 5 weeks from now? 5 years from now? 5 decades from now? Touch wood. That's the question I want to share and introduce you to the terror of the situation. It's closer than you know. And it's time we looked at it. There's an old Zen saying that I really like, and I've got a lot out of Zen Buddhism practice, but also especially the quotes that are really portable and they sort of point to something. So I'm going to leave you with this one. Zen, and by Zen, we'll just talk about a practice of inner work. There are many. So Zen is feeling life rather than feeling something about life. Yeah, told you it was good. So I want to use this technology right now, this screen here, to try to talk about the terror of the situation and how we can truly find our being, reclaim our being outside of this mitigated, framed existence, and that it's really kind of our birthright. It's our right to break free from this screen and truly feel life rather than just feel something about life. Yeah, so that's part of what I wanted to talk about. And I'm trying to build the bridge as I'm crossing it and try to figure out how to elucidate some of these concepts. But that's fun. I'm really glad I started. It's taken me a while. I've thought about it for a long time. And yeah, maybe no one actually is listening to this. That's fine. They're going to be put out there. It's just the same. This helps me greatly to get some thoughts in order. And I've been thinking about this for a long time. So thanks for listening. We're going to do some shit here. We're going to speak some truths here. Yeah, if you want to come along, it's going to be interesting. It won't be boring. It's going to be a little confronting, but I promise that I'm doing this because I'm doing this with me, for me. This is stuff I would do in my kitchen normally. So now I'm just turning a camera on, asking these questions. And I have skin in this game. I am not any guru. I am not an enlightened human being, but I am more conscious than I was yesterday. That's a path I've been working on for about 20 years, and it's changed my life, but I still have a lot of work to do. And part of this work is to share my work right now. It's sort of to come out of the shadows of consciousness and meditation and mindfulness, and to share what's worked for me and see if it works for you. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, man, all good. And if it doesn't, you don't need this. If you don't feel like you need to look at the terror of the situation, I wish you the best. Go for it. You know, I'm not making any value judgments. I truly bless that. But some of us are forced to look at the terror of the situation, and you're not alone. You are not alone. You are among a whole host of seekers who realize that this is the next step for them. And welcome. Thanks for listening. And we're going to unpack a couple situations, a couple concepts. I'm going to lean on all of my film school dropout history and experience, and we're going to try and make it a little more visually entertaining than just a guy in his kitchen. But I did have a method to my madness standing here in my kitchen to kick this off, because you have to tell the truth in a kitchen. That's an old proverb I read somewhere years ago. So I wanted to start this off by saying, I'm just telling the truth about stuff that I've learned, and I will not lie to you. I will sometimes speculate. I'll definitely speculate and go off a little bit, but I'm not going to lie here. I'm going to be very honest about how I see things and how I've experienced things, and that might work for you and it might not. But I make you a promise. There's all truth. And then when that truth changes, it might be another truth, but it will be the truth of the moment. So that's something important that I want to look at. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. And maybe we'll see you on the other side in the next video.